Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today. And what is going to be round 3 of Waters Above and El Toro Loco. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Waters Above and I get deep into the trenches of what's going to happen with the XRP price, what's going to happen with Bitcoin, what's going to happen with the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, what we can expect with the US dollar, and many of other things that we need to anticipate in order to position ourselves correctly and most profit from the volatility of the crypto market. You guys know that whenever Waters Above and I connect, we deep dive into an abundance of different topics and prepare all of you for what's to come. And I think in this specific collaboration, you guys are going to be extremely excited because there is good news. We do anticipate that short-term price action in the positive direction for some altcoins and even for XRP. But you guys are going to have to listen to the rest of this episode to find out exactly what we discussed. This is a July 4th special, and I hope everyone had an incredible Independence Day. And in honor of Independence Day, I have a very special announcement that a lot of you have been requesting and that I know a lot of you will be extremely excited about. Ladies and gentlemen, something I've been heavily requested to launch is my own aggressively average apparel for the entire XRP army. And I figured there's no better day than Independence Day to release this to all of you. Everyone's always requested of me to make a symbol to represent what the XRP army has been through. And I figured there's no better way to do this than to launch this aggressively average apparel. People have always mocked and laughed at the XRP army, but now the tides are finally turning, and we're witnessing the crypto community begin to realize and rally behind the XRP army because we've always been correct. This is not just merch. It's not a normal clothing brand. It's not just a statement. It's not just a movement, but it's a symbol of everything we've ever been through. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the official Genesis drop for the XRP community. The Fuck the SEC shirt, the 589 XRP shirt, and of course, my favorite saying in the world, the aggressively average t-shirt. Everything in this store is 100% made in the United States. Everything is made with the highest quality material to ensure it's durable and lasts. And finally, all these designs were made by the blood, sweat, and tears of one of the most legendary graphic designers in the world, Ozzy Oz the Virus, a legendary anime graphic designer who's a big member of the XRP community. So please give him a follow, as the XRP army runs deep and we tap into so many different communities across the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, to all of you that purchase one of these shirts, please tag me on Instagram or Twitter so I could repost you. As you all need to remember what I said, this is not just a brand. It's an entire movement. Fuck the SEC. Fuck everything we've had to go through. And all rise to the XRP army. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the link to this store is down in the description below. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. And now on to this Waters Above interview.
El Toro Loco, Waters Above, part 3. Let's go! Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody from across the world. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all here on this Independence Day special. Waters Above, talk to me, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing, man. Better every day. It's so great to reconnect with you. Actually, before we got going on this, I released a new YouTube video, and I was just thinking about how the first time we got together was back in January.
Hmm.
So it's been about half a year officially since the first podcast.
Dude, that's amazing. It's funny how time flies. It's actually frightening how time flies.
Yeah,
I try to trap
wild.
myself in the prison of humor in order to not cry, to be honest with you. But what's changed since then, bro? How you feeling? How you looking at the world? Been a lot of things that's happened since then. I'm curious to know your thoughts on just what's been going on.
For sure. So I think around that time when we connected the first podcast, XRP was trading around like 38 cents. Bitcoin was down at like 21K. So the market has definitely moved up. Like 10 grand move for Bitcoin is pretty wild. Especially with all the narratives, all the negativity going around in the space, especially for US crypto investors with everything that's gone on a couple weeks back with Binance and Coinbase and the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'm sure your community is well aware. So yeah, it's just been incredible how the market is still so driven by narratives coming from the Fed and also just a lot of FUD. And it seems to be that the US crypto market is continuing to get ritualized. What are some of your
Hmm.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's always been something I've said that American retail investors to me are nothing more than exit liquidity for the entire world, not just for the elites, right? It's looking to me like the big wealth transfer that's coming for the next industrial revolution is going from the west to the east. I think Eastern retail investors will probably get an opportunity to profit more than American, and it's just continuing to prove itself every day. My hypothesis for the world is that the West is going to come and fall back to the mean a little more as other parts of the world rise up quite a bit. And I don't think you'd probably disagree with that.
No, I definitely see there being a shift. And there's always been kind of this idea in the back of my head of the classic what was once last becomes first and what was first becomes last. And we
Mm,
do have to have a transition phase though. It's not like drop of a hat. Like you kind of have to have a transition. I think we're in it actually. I think we've been in it, believe it or not, since probably the housing market crisis. So
mm,
people when we speak about these ideas, we need to kind of zoom out and look macro.
yeah, yeah. But I guess aside from everything else, what are you looking most at in the world right now that's been most interesting or intriguing or maybe even just shocking to you?
Well, a big find that I've been talking about a lot in my work is a connection numerologically, this number 69 and 96. And that's been
Oh,
popping up a lot in my work ever since
Waters, what are you
Bitcoin.
doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? 69. Is this what we're doing today, bro? Hey, just take a pause. Take a pause. Take a pause. All right, all right, all right. We're good to
Yeah,
go.
recapitulate. Yeah, we're
Um,
talking about 69 today, family. But no, for real, like I've been seeing this number pop up a lot. And I don't know if when the last time we connected exactly, was it in March or April? I'm not entirely sure, but we had the Silicon Valley Bank failure, which happened on March 10th. And that was on the 69th day of this year. And then we've been watching rituals happen off of that number 96 and 69 time and time again. As of right now, Bitcoin's all-time high is $69,000. We actually saw it even in the XRP chart, and it was something that I shared in one of my podcasts. The last time XRP traded at 68 cents was 68 days before this crucial cross that happens on the charts. Again, I can't go too into it without actually showing the charts, but needless to say, it was the last time since that XRP has traded at 68 cents. So there's this 68, 69, 70 code that's been playing itself out a lot lately. And we just had that Ocean Gate Titan submersible, thing happen on the world stage. And that was 69 days after April, the April 14th, April 15th timeframe, and that was when the Titanic sank and Bitcoin topped out on that day of April 14th. I believe also XRP did. Most of the crypto market was pretty bullish around then, and then we rolled over. So to get this into plain English and to give your community some utility for those of you that are not decoders, I think that we need to think of this number sequence and take it a little bit more seriously, because it could tell us when the next big event is going to happen on the world stage. So my methodology tells me that if we just had this 69 event happen since the April 14th timeframe, that brings us to June 22nd, when the Titan submersible was discovered after that incident. And then if we go exactly 69 days off that event, it brings us into August 30th. So again, you know my work, I'm getting a little bit more into the astrology and the decoding side of things. And August 30th is the blue moon. And a blue moon is when we have 2 full moons in the same month. And whenever we tend to get these blue moons, we also have stuff happen on the world stage. And as you know, every time we have something happen, it typically affects markets. And if it affects the traditional markets, it'll affect crypto. So I kind of look at everything holistically built off of this code, and it's telling me that we're gearing up for some big event to happen in late August. And I could talk a little bit more about like my short-term theory, if you'd like.
No, please, bro. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you're the one with the fucking crystal ball with all these numbers. I don't know. But I know anytime there's some moons and waters above says there's some shit you got to pay attention to, happens. So talk to me, bro.
Yeah, well, I mean, this for those of you that have never heard of my work, about 3 months ago, I released a decode over on my Patreon, and I also made some free YouTube videos available on my channel where I talked about to expect a 2023 Titanic ritual, and we literally got one. So if anyone who's studied, economics, you know that the people that were on board of the Titanic really opposed the Federal Reserve System. So think about this, guys. We have
Ironically
this.
enough, forgive me, brother. Ironically enough, that was what my first genuine podcast episode was about. Was aside from interview style forum, it was about how the Federal Reserve got birthed by the sinking of the Titanic. Right. So it's very interesting to see how that all played out. It was a coincidence that I did that specific episode. So I feel
Beautiful.
like that's
Yeah, and a lot of people are aware of this theory. And so if you kind of see the method to my madness here, if we're going to have this Titan submersible kind of event go down, and then 1 month later, we have the launching of FedNow service. Do you guys not see the writing on the wall here? We live in a world that's completely puzzled together and scripted through these events, if you will. So I'll just keep it super simple and in plain English. So to get back to what I was kind of theorizing before, is this seems to me like a bullish setup for the finality of July. And then once we have that next FOMC meeting on July 25th, this could be kind of the trigger point to pivot the market. And whether it brings in instant bullish liquidity to the crypto market, or it's just a pulling of the plug. I mean, we could all look at the stock market right now and we could see that it's pretty overheated. If you were to look at 3-month candles on the Dow Jones, it almost looks like we're heading on to a new bull run. According to just regular, analysts, anyone who studies traditional markets and is a technical analyst, it kind of looks like we're in a bull run already. And that's really kind of where the sheep get fleeced. So for me, the last video I released just moments ago, actually, before we connected, I called it, I just said warning and kind of beware of this bull trap, because it's a setup. And I think a lot of people who are in retail especially are going to start jumping in too late. And it's going to be, what the elite typically do, or I'll call them the market makers. It's what the market makers typically do, right? They get you happy and excited at the time where you should actually be fearful.
Now, Waters, I'm actually going to ask for a favor. Is it all right if you could bring the Dow Jones onto the screen, and just so people have a visual of what you're talking about exactly?
Yes, Absolutely. Let me just pull it up real quick. And then if you give me the option to share my screen.
Yeah, 1 second. Boom. There you go. Should be good to go. But the reason I think this is so important is because a lot of people, they just hear us, right? And just hearing words come out of our mouths without a visual isn't the best way to translate that information into their minds.
I
So
completely agree.
before I also allow you to speak as well, I remember our last episode, there was this little sell and may go away hypothesis. And there are a lot of people that are like, bull, what happened? We never got to see our little uptrend in the altcoins and some cryptos. Waters was wrong. It was a piece of shit. Things like that. But you were actually talking about this quite a lot on your channel and how you believe this has been delayed slightly into around this period where we're in now. So you have it down on the screen, but I'd also like for you to cover that as well. Because
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And one more thing before I let you continue. To everyone watching at home, a lot of things change in the translation of information, right? So it's not just one hypothesis that, let's say, me or an analyst or anyone else gives, and that's it, without any change and without any deviation at all, ever, right? These markets are hard to read. And if you just take one piece of information that you maybe got 6 months ago and you just stick with that and you never do any more due diligence to stay updated again, that's not the way to do it. You have to constantly go and reassess and reconfirm and reanalyze and maybe re-listen to information and adapt to what is being given. So we can't be lazy when it comes to translating these things, because it's a very tough thing to navigate. So just keep that in mind, my friends.
So a couple of things. First and foremost, this quote, sell in May and go away, is a quote from the traditional stock market. And it's a very long time been a famous saying, right? I made a decode about this. And within that decode on my Patreon, I actually was continually coming into some issues with this quote. I was very vocal about this. I never said that Waters Above was selling in May. I said that I sell according to price targets. As a technical analyst and a sophisticated investor, you never just sell based off of arbitrary time periods. Anyone who tells you this does not know how this works. So it was a quote. It's not how I'm playing markets. All right. So it's very important to get clear. And within that decode, I was again finding errors or flaws. And I even said, I'm going to make a follow-up part 2 to this decode. And this is to expose flaws in the theory. And it was called World Reserve Decoded. So what I've noticed is a majority of the people that have something to say about the being right or wrong are people who've never watched either of those decodes and probably missed a lot of those nuances. And everyone who has access to my Patreon, you get to see when I'm buying and selling. I have not made a single sell order. So it's just odd to me that a lot of people got confused by this and they disregarded the fact that it's just a quote. It's not how you play the game. So I hope that clears things up. The theory here is that typically we tend to get bullish momentum into that time frame, and we've seen year after year the performance into June, July, August could sometimes be not the greatest, but otherwise we are in a very weird environment right now, post the Federal Reserve printing the most amount of money ever since the creation of the Federal Reserve System. And we have to expect there to be like anomalies, especially when we're talking about cryptocurrency, because that's what we focus on. When we're talking about crypto, we're working with like 13 to 14 years of chart data in Bitcoin. We barely have any chart data to work with on things like Ethereum or XRP, right? So as technical analysts, we need data, and we have very, very limited data, especially for cryptocurrency. So we're doing the best we can. And yeah, I hope that kind of clears up that. But was there something you wanted me to show you specifically about the Dow Jones chart?
Yeah, I wanted you to show everybody just Well, one, how overheated it is, and two, I'm under the theory that it's almost time for lights out, right? I think you probably are as well. I think a lot of other people are kind of getting that sense too. The stock market looks frothy at the moment, and kind of curious to know your thoughts on what you think is going to happen next, and are we still under the impression that maybe this September, October could be the big lights out catalyst?
Yeah. So that is one thing that I have been very direct on, that I believe that in September and October, we should have a noticeable pullback in the market. I will never sway away from that. That's typically how this market operates according to a 7-year cycle that's been going on for over 100 years in these charts. So to get into the setup we're looking at right now with the Dow Jones, and if you look at this red box is from the start of a 7-year cycle I just talked about a second ago called the Shemitah, and it's from the start to the finish. And we tend to see this rise into the end of it, or sorry, the very beginning, or like right before it starts. And then we have these deeper corrections. Look at that. It literally ended the Shemitah right at the lows. And what happens is 1 year after it's over is when we get sometimes even deeper corrections. So if I was to zoom out and go back to like the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis, you're going to see exactly the same thing. Look at the start of the Shemitah in this red box. We hit top, and then we started bull trap correction, came up a little bit into April and May, which is again kind of going along with that sell in May and go away quotes. And then we had what kind of played out to be a dead cat bounce and a deeper correction about a year later. Then here you have the dot-com bubble. It's not as noticeable here on the Dow Jones chart, but if you were to look into something like maybe the NASDAQ, you're going to have a little bit clearer of information. But there you go. We have a top right in the beginning of the Shemitah. As it ends, bigger correction, bull trap, and then more sell-off about 1 year later. I suspect we're going to have a similar thing go on as you see cycle after cycle, even in this moment here, which was more on the Chinese stock market. So to zoom in at what I'm expecting in the short term between now and then, we are looking very, very good. But as you said, and I also said, it's overheated. I think we are potentially, we have a little bit more gas in the tank, but this thing is more likely to roll over with another lower high. It would be very, very odd for this to make it up to this 888 fib, somewhere around 36,000 points before rolling over. But we do have this trend line right here. I could turn it into like an area chart to just show you how clean this is all kind of playing out. Resistance, 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 confirmed trend line, confirmed resistance. And then you come back down, trade above it. And this is a tap. So that does kind of confirm it as support, especially with the breakout in these local highs. So that's bullish as shit. Like this, technically, this is looking really good, but it's still overheated. And like I said, the market maker likes to bull trap you at a time where it's just feeling so good. The markets are up, everything's positive, everyone's happy. They feel like the economy is recovering, blah, 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 blah. And then, next thing you know, it slides because of a ritual. They do an event. Okay. It could be something with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. It could be something that happens with the president. It could be whatever, right? This is how they do the market pullback. They don't need to do it, with market fundamentals or anything having to do with the economy directly. It could be something else, secondary, tertiary, that could start the slide. So the Dow is looking good. The NASDAQ is absolutely overheated. I mean, look at this. It's like on a parabolic breakout. And now that it's gotten above this golden pocket territory, it's really feeling like, okay, this thing needs to sort of chill out. And, at this time, it's really hard to talk about doom or negativity when the market's looking so good. But as a sophisticated technical analyst, this is kind of how I play. When I see things looking a little too good to be true, my discernment sort of kicks in, my intuition flares up, and it says, all right, something's got to give. And part of the finality of this kind of, analysis here is, after we have moments like this, it would be typical that some of this liquidity rolls over into crypto. So I do feel like there is some room to go for Bitcoin, and that's ultimately the mover of this market. I've shared in my newest YouTube video that I feel like there's a move up to about 35K Bitcoin because of a CME gap. I know you aren't a technical analyst, but you're probably well aware that if Bitcoin makes another leg higher, it's going to send XRP another leg higher. So that's kind of bullish across the board for XRP. Specifically for the XRP people in here, which I know there's a lot of. I'm going to turn all this noise off. We're really struggling at 54 cents. And I called out that level way before we hit it. And I said to everyone, no parties until we break 54 cents with confirmed, 3-day candles, 5-day candles, and we need some volume. And it's just not there. And we hit those levels, but we were never able to really recover above them. So this is looking like a very weak chart right now. And I still feel there's that push up into the 80-cent level. We need XRP to clear 60 cents. If it can't, it's really just going to continue to swoop up to the high 50s and get rejected. So we need volume to kick in when it matters most. And that needs to come from somewhere.
So you think it could come from, one, the fact that the stock market's overheated and that'll eventually go into Bitcoin, and then because Bitcoin's potentially going to do a leg higher, that could raise XRP as well.
And that's typically how it goes. That's pretty much how the market's been moving cyclically since the invention of, Bitcoin and all these assets sort of trading together, at least since 2017, 2018. Again, that's very limited data, brother. As an analyst, I need to remind people of that. Like, we're working with super tiny amount of data here. If we were talking on the Dow Jones, like, shit, we have so much data to work with. Like, anybody who studies this chart for 6 months should be almost past the intermediate level. When you're looking at Bitcoin, you could stare at it all day, study it all day. You're still looking at limited data. So the anomalies are going to pop up because it's still in price discovery. That's the one thing, especially about Bitcoin. It's literally on infinite price discovery to the upside. It's gone from less than a penny to, yeah, you know the story.
Now, what I'm curious to know is, okay, let's see. So I think we went over the high you expect the Dow to reach potentially. And I think you also said the NASDAQ is overheated in your opinion, which I think anyone could really tell based on that parabolic run. A concern I'm beginning to get is that I'm starting to see this 35 to 40K Bitcoin price range pop up too much for my own comfort level, believe it or not. Yeah. I'm curious to know your thoughts on that.
I like how you're uncomfortable about it. It's why I'm like uncomfortable about what we technically see Bitcoin do in a so-called automatic rally, which is top out at the 786. So if we were to purely look at this on past performance, any calls of 48 to 50K seem ridiculous, and it like makes my stomach curdle. But if it happened, then beautiful. I mean, it's just what Bitcoin does, though. Like, I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Right here, we call this automatic rally. After your blow off top, you have a large sell-off. So buying climax, buying gets exhausted, selling climax, selling pressure gets exhausted. Then you have a relief rally to just bear trap everyone, right? Now, look at where this topped out on this 786 fib. Perfect. Then we have over here, we could entertain the idea that this was the automatic rally, but the reason I don't look at it as that is because we maintained trend. We never really broke. And we did actually reach top of the 786 perfectly before back testing what was a 200-day resistance. So this is insanely bullish, but again, the market cap was totally different back in 2016. There was way less people. There was way less on and off ramps. It was like the revenge of the nerds. Very few people even knew about. If you knew about XRP. Exactly. If you knew about XRP back here, then congratulations if you invested in it, because like it didn't even matter where you bought compared to where it is today. And I think a lot of people who analyze XRP, or the people who are invested in XRP, sometimes forget about the chart that shows the data going back to 2015, 14, where it was sub a penny. That was really the great time to be invested in that asset. But anywho, we're here now, and that's all that matters. But looking at this Bitcoin chart, I just wanted to show you this tap into the top of the golden pocket, looking very nice. Tap of the golden pocket, It would be mind-blowing if Bitcoin could hit 50K. Now, coming to what you brought up, where like your intuition is telling you that the 35 to 40K is too popular now, and it's perhaps being passed around by people you're aware of, other analysts, etc. I don't disagree. Don't disagree. The technical factors here are the fact that we are looking at continuation, given that if I turn off all this extra data, we have right here being a resistance point. This was your daily candle close high. We got a new one. And then as of yesterday, we have another continuation candle. So what do they say? Trend is your friend, right? I mean, there's really nothing bearish to say about what we're seeing here. Perpetual higher lows, perpetual higher highs. After a really long-term resistance at 25K, we back tested 25K clean with a bounce. I mean, anyone who's fishing for bear narratives on this just doesn't know how to read charts. So as for the next move up, Bitcoin making it to 35K is like Bitcoin sneezing. You know how crypto is. I mean, what is that for Bitcoin? It does this move all the time while we're sleeping. So, you know, we could literally wake up in a couple days and there could be some bullshit from Elon Musk talking about Bitcoin, and that's all you need for 37K Bitcoin in a single candle. It's sad, but that's how the market works. You know, so I'm kind of like waiting for a moment like that, if you know what I mean. Just a really violent push to the upside, and it'll look more like a blow off top. And it could slice through liquidity levels according to what the market maker wants to do. How many bears do they want to liquidate? That's all they look at, the order books, and they know, okay, I want to slice away this many people who are in leverage shorts, and then boom, they don't care about your emotions. They don't care about you losing your life savings. They just look for where to squeeze you the most.
I see. I see. Now, as far as that's concerned, I think it's beginning to sound like it could be more likely we see that 40 to maybe 50K range. Is that kind of what you're getting the sense of as well?
I told you before, this 50K, 48 to 50K kind of makes my stomach hurt. Like, I don't want to entertain it. Especially I'm in the hot seat as the you know 60,000 subscriber technical analyst on YouTube, and I've become quite popular over the years. You know, if I start entertaining these more higher targets, it just kind of sounds like clickbait. So for me, I'm taking it one layer at a time. I look for that 35K level because of that CME gap. They tend to be filled, especially to the upside. Then after that, I'm looking at everything based on fib levels. So 40K is the bottom of that golden pocket. Just show you again to kind of put a visual to this. So we have right here at 39,000, the bottom of the 618 right there, 40K. Also 40 is a very psychologically like even number. But we could, you know, like Bitcoin likes these wicks. So we could definitely have a wick that swipes into 42. I mean, I'm not really here to split hairs, because that's what I would call this. The
Yeah.
difference between 37 and 45 is like splitting hairs with an asset that has this much volatility. So what I think is even more interesting about this, and specifically for your community, is how this could affect XRP. You know, like really, if we're going to see a push to 45K Bitcoin, I think that's only going to be more bullish for Bitcoin, for XRP. So yeah, I mean, with Bitcoin dominance right now, it's the king. It's holding all this dominance, and that needs to flow back into these other alts. I guess specifically XRP is in this weird scenario given the SEC case. And since the Hinman emails and all the other, you know, psyops that haven't done shit for this coin, I mean, I almost feel like we need to have just investors step in. And it's clear as day in these charts that a lot of retail doesn't actually like walk the way they talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree, to be honest with you. But what I'll say as well is that with the potential of Bitcoin making these lower high, or how would you say, higher low, excuse me,
Lower highs, exactly.
lower highs, yeah. With Bitcoin making these lower highs, I think that the narrative is set for a potential ruling on this case to be the catalyst for a little bit of a pump in XRP. But I also think that could be a nice, beautiful little bull trap for retail investors, right? So it's interesting how that
Absolutely.
happens. And dude, as a content creator for XRP, I'm going to spill some game for a lot of people at home and a lot of people watching this interview now. Like, I have all the information I need to understand the psychological sentiment of XRP. The amount of harassment I get for just putting out a video saying Finastra says FedNow is launching on July 20th. Fuck these dates. Fuck your predictions. Fuck everything. You're always wrong. And I'm like, I'm over here showing quotes of people talking. It's not a prediction.
So
I'm just
now,
relaying
you
messages.
see exactly. So now you see where I'm at with the sell in May and go away shit.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
did you watch the decode? Did you watch the follow-up decode? Did you hear me say I'm going to actually make a follow-up decode trying to find flaws in this? Like, name people that are going out of their way to make 1-hour presentations trying to find flaws in theories. That's
But
called science. That's real science. Real science is when you apply the scientific method. And I think that it's important, especially when we're working with such limited data, to do our best in that.
but and I do think that's important as well. But the reason I brought up what I brought up is because that just goes to show what retail sentiment is, especially for XRP. But I can 110% guarantee you, if XRP gets a nice little pump going and then the perfect storm of the SEC case ending happens and we're approaching 75 cents to 80 cents, I bet you'll see that retail push and retail money come in. Isn't that great?
Exactly. And that's how it always works with XRP. Like, the reason XRP continues to have these Bart Simpson head patterns is because retail waits till the very last second to get in, and then they're just smacked by sell walls. I mean, they don't get it. They never learn.
Mm-hmm. So it's that's just free game for you guys at home. If you're
Oh,
go
would
ahead,
you
brother.
like me to go over the thing that I told you guys about, like, verbally, regarding XRP, that was about that 68 cent sort of thing? Maybe
Yeah,
that could help
please.
some people kind of get it.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm going to clear all this to just give you guys a super clean, image of what I was talking about. So there's two moving averages that are on this chart right now. This is the XRP 2-day chart. And we have the white moving average is the 55 simple moving average, and the green moving average is the 200 simple moving average. So we had a cross right here where the white went above the green. I'm just going to keep it super, super simple. You can see this led to essentially this uptrend, even considering we had this SEC nonsense happen right around here. That was when the lawsuit went in. And then right over here, you have the cross happening in the opposite fashion, then downtrend. Lately, we've had this cross happen, and it is the way that I'm explaining back here, but it has a very similar structure where you see this Bart Simpson head pattern cross sideways. Well, we had this Bart Simpson head pattern. Look at how we crossed perfectly into tapping on both of these trend lines, and we're still right now seemingly sideways. Now, this led to a straight line breakout. You probably remember this. This was like the flare airdrop shenanigans. And this move that we're having here, I don't think is going to be as dramatic. If you were to look at the percentage, it's about 240%. That'd be beautiful if that happened. But 240% off these low targets would put us close to, I mean, yeah, it would be putting us like close to a $1.40 XRP. I'd love if that happened, but I don't know what narrative could possibly do that. Again, we're open-minded, especially in this community, because we have that SEC shit going on. So we've seen this cross work in a negative fashion and a positive fashion in both directions. And what I was talking about with this 68 code was right here. If we take off of when this cross initiated over 68 days, it's right back here, is the exact date. It was when we topped out. Let me adjust this, trying to make sure I get the exact kind of time frame. Boom. So also around this time frame, we hit 68 cents for the first time in over 2 years. That's pretty fucking crazy. How 68 days after this cross, we're brushing up on 68 cents. Now, on the other side of things, we have when this cross happened in the opposite way. So we have off the cross, we have 68 days later. which brings us to this candle right here. And you can see that if you were to follow along on the price action on the right, that was the last day we traded at 68 cents since. How insane is that? So that's like the gem of gems. And for anyone who disregards, this code, you can see it playing live. And that was kind of like my claim to fame on YouTube, because when I created my channel back during this time frame, I said to expect a $1 XRP for the first time in years, and it happened. So this, again, like, I'm just kind of reminding people, it's not egoic. I'm really trying to help. Now, coming back to this cross today that we've gotten, if we move off of it, 68 days later is just 4 days from now, brother. So are we in the process of gonna see some sort of meteoric rise in the short term for XRP? I mean, it would be really dope to see that kind of unfold, especially because we've had it happen twice, not only with the dates, but with the price too. So I think this is pretty compelling.
In 4 days, I'm calling it here live. If we see a 68-cent XRP, the Illuminati's real. The Matrix there's a glitch in the Matrix. We've uncovered everything. We are the modern day cryptodamus, my friend. That is what's gonna happen. Unbelievable.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be pretty interesting, especially because I could show you one more other code. We have here on March 29th, we see XRP hit 58 cents. Then we corrected, and the lowest we've went since was on May 8th. That's the date 5/8. If you do XRP and Gematria, XRP equals 58. It like makes people uncomfortable. I could hear you squirming.
I am, because I think you know this. I don't necessarily understand what this all means, right? But I understand. I know that
that's why you have me.
I know you know what it means in whatever way. You're like I can call you the gematria whisperer, bro, behind closed doors.
So everyone could try this at home. You have A, B, C equals 1, 2, 3 with Gematria. Then Z would just be your 26th letter. So X is your 24th letter, which is 24. R is your 18th letter. That's 18. P is your 16th letter. You add 24 plus 18 plus 16. That equals 58. We moved up to 58 cents. And on the 5/8 date, we corrected. I mean, that's just like, it's just silly. If you see on the 58 days later, after we hit 58 cents, we started another uptrend. I could do this all day, but it's important that people see that there's a code moving this market, and it doesn't have to be people moving it. It could literally just be this AI. It's all AI. That's what all of this stuff is. People think that ChatGPT and OpenAI and all this shit is new. Get out of here. That the government has been using whatever technology you hold today, they've been using 20, 30, 40 years ago. They're just allowing us to play with it today. If you think iPhones were invented when they were invented, wake up. They've had this touch screen technology very long time ago. So everything that's happening in this market, I believe, is ran by this code. And is it AI running it? Sure. Why not? I mean, it's just it's just an algorithm anyways. So when we see these supreme sell walls that are just bashing in, I mean, could these dominant market makers just kind of want to squeeze us at these levels, and they could use AI to just continue, taking our money? Well, isn't that their job anyways? To take your money? They're already collecting all your fees every time you buy and sell crypto. They're already taxing you capital gains. If they could figure out 10 ways to take your money, that's 10 streams of income for them. You don't think they created AI to do that? So I hope that my work helps people wake up, because it's not just all about you making, becoming rich. It's actually about you learning how to protect wealth. And the more you're aware, the less emotional you are. You don't look at it like this emotional game. You kind of see these metrics that are running the show. And that allows you to become a much better investor.
I have a question for you. So we have this potential September, October timeframe for when we could see some lows come in, some pretty dramatic retracements in the market.
Mhm.
Where do you think the Dow could go? Where do you think Bitcoin could go? And where do you think XRP could go as far as how low these targets could reach?
Absolutely. So let's just kind of think about what the Dow's done in the past. I think that's fair because there is a cyclical nature to all of this. It's about a 40 to 50% correction is what I anticipate off of the current all-time high. So that brings us into around this range. If we were to move 44, 45%, that's about 20,000 points on the nose. And then if we were to correct a full 50%, that would be the bottom of the C19 crash. So that's not out of the cards, by the way, for us to return to those levels, because if you look at how long we lasted at those levels, it was like just a couple of trading days. So could it be this dramatic? Yes. Now, let's just look at this a little bit different from maybe the Dow to the NASDAQ to all the other, if you really want to be holistic. I think the correction is due more in the NASDAQ because we have way too much just funny money and hope that these technologies will continue to be bidded on. Like, I know we're moving more to a transhumanist reality with things like VR and augmented reality and metaverse and all that. But just keep your mind open to, like, since this C19 crash and all of the PPP and just all the printing that was given to these ghost corporations, that money's just floating around in Narnia right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get maybe like a 40% correction on the Dow and a deeper correction on the NASDAQ. So technically about 23,000 would be what I would anticipate sometime into the fall. But consider that the way that stocks correct could sometimes take some time. It could continue to correct leg by leg down all the way to like March. So we've seen this before. If you look at the dot-com bubble, it only affected a 38% correction in the Dow. But what did it do to the NASDAQ? Right? Totally different story. I mean, geez, we see an 83% correction. So they're not equivocal. They do crash at similar times. They do top out at similar times, but the effect that will be on that particular indice will be different. So I'll get to Bitcoin, and then I have a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
But looking at the Bitcoin chart, it depends on this higher low structure, really. So I'm looking at the all-time chart on the weekly, and we did something different this cycle that we didn't do before, which is that into what I call a selling climax, we back tested the prior all-time highs. So you look at this cycle again, we have very limited cycles, but we have from this 2011 top, when we made it to the next peak, we never back tested that top. On this cycle, when we made it to this peak, we never back tested that top. Well, in this cycle, we did. In this cycle, we actually dug a little bit deeper into this blow off top from December 2017. So this adds a new kind of paw print to the market. You know, you're kind of just looking at animal tracks right now, and you're trying to decipher how will this turn out in the future. But the one very, very positive thing to say about Bitcoin is in this C19 crash, it held higher lows. It held trend. That's really incredible. When you look at the altcoins, on the other hand, most altcoins trading at that time went deeper, lower lows, some of them super dramatic, right? So Bitcoin looked very strong at that time. I think Ethereum did a similar thing. It like double bottomed. This is what we're looking to happen next in the stock market, in the markets in general. The rebound, I think, will be also similar. So I'm not calling it to be a repeat of the C19 crash. Of course, we need some event to make that happen for there to be pandemonium. But needless to say, after a relief rally, we do tend to get corrections. Here we have about a 54% correction. Off of this tiny little correction here, we got about a 40% correction. So if we were to consider or entertain the move up to 40K Bitcoin, followed by about a 40% correction, that sends us back to 24K. 25K is our support. If we start closing below 25K, that's a break of trend because that'll be a lower low. So we have to wait till we get there. Where do I think we're going the deepest? I would be really shocked if Bitcoin trades below 20K again. I think we'll at least hold that 20K level. That's just my feelings because of the way things are headed. I think people are kind of like exodus. There's an exodus of the dollar, and all global currencies are like failing as we speak. Like you could pull up almost any peso chart and it'll make you cringe. You look up the Turkish lira, it'll make you cry. Most of these currencies around the world are debased and they're going to zero. So
But
you're going
when
to see adoption of the digital yuan, and you're also going to see just younger people probably started adopting things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. What were we
wouldn't
going to say?
you wouldn't you say that that flood away from those other fiat currencies would go to the dollar?
It will, but I'm saying that I still feel right now that smarter governments and smarter individuals are seeing that hyperinflation is clear and they're learning and they're savvy. And because of this bull run back here, a lot of people learned about cryptocurrency. We could thank things like Shiba Inu and Doge for putting crypto on the map on the like basic retail level. I'm not
Hmm.
saying that it was a good thing. I'm just saying that it brings awareness. And that's really all that's needed, right? If out of nowhere a billion people learned about XRP and only 1% of them invested in XRP, only a little bit of money can dramatically move that price. So
Hmm.
awareness is really what we need. I know a lot of people are promoting adoption as what we really need, but you got to remember the adoption typically only happens after there's trust. And humans are like sheep who wait for governments to regulate shit to believe in it. We're the complete antithesis of that, right? We're early adopters. We're getting in before governments say it's good or better or whatever. Like if you're just waiting around, you're probably too late when they finally say it's a good investment, right? So yes, we're watching the all the currencies around the world being debased as pro US dollar. I've been pretty adamant about that, but I do think that there's a surge of people that are a little bit more savvy, and perhaps the FedNow service could be one of the other things that brings awareness that makes people want to go more crypto.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts on FedNow specifically as well. But before we get into that, I don't want to change topics before I get into the XRP potential pullback if we happen to hit these 80 cent to maybe even $1 levels.
Mhm. One moment. You want me to review XRP?
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I really like this trend line that we're seeing, this bright blue line. It's been in play ever since the C19 crash on weekly closures. It's been the touch point and support ever since we had the bigger correction of the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. It's been what we returned down to at the finality of what we're calling the bear market of 2022. And we've just been moseying along on higher lows since. So I know this is super noisy, but if you just look at this trend line, it's clear as day to me that we've been respecting it. So I don't really see the reason for XRP going lower than these levels unless it's wicks or what people would call tails, excuse me. And could we have a tail that double bottoms on the lows? Sure. That would be a gorgeous buying opportunity. But if we're going to get an 80 cent XRP first, then we're going off of like a different kind of theory. And that would be a return back to 54 cents, which is currently our big issue. So what we get rejected off of typically gets tested again later as a potential support. And if XRP can't hold that, then I'll start to entertain lower targets. But with Bitcoin and all these other coins correcting, that doesn't necessarily mean that XRP has to have this huge dramatic pullback. It's so suppressed. It never really had the bull run like a lot of other coins had the opportunity for. It has yet to enter price discovery above 330. I mean, you kind of see where I'm going here. It's so fucking suppressed that what would push it lower than 28 cents? There would have to be something really horrible to happen isolated for XRP, regardless of what happens with Bitcoin.
About let's entertain the worst case because why the hell not? Let's say
Sure.
let's say there's not the best ruling, and then let's say we end up going to the Supreme Court, and then all that takes another 2 years.
Mm. Well, I like where you're going with this. I think there could be a possibility that some people who've hedged along the way in XLM might completely de-risk XRP into XLM. That could be something to consider. Why they would do that, I don't know. But I guess that like is kind of the twin, and that's how most people talk in the XRP army and the XRP community. So I think that's a theory to entertain. If we were to see some shit happen with this case that prolongs it, perhaps there could be a sell flood into XLM, or perhaps the other ISO 222s. But I think it would be XLM. I'm going to go ahead and just venture to isolate that one. Now, if that happened, then yeah, you could start to see 26-cent XRP, and then below that, we're get ready.
I've had, yeah, the reason I'm asking you is because I've had someone who's a chart analyst, one of the only other people in the world actually that has been able to pretty accurately pinpoint this XRP chart. And he's saying the worst case that he could objectively see XRP reach is maybe even as low as 5, but
5 cents,
but more likely 20. Could
Okay.
you entertain the idea of ever seeing XRP reach 5, especially when you take the data of like 2014, 2015 in there as well?
No.
There you go. There you go.
But I'm not also, by the
everything.
way, I don't know who this analyst is. I honor their work. If you believe that they're a very talented analyst, I would never want to have anyone stray away from listening to somebody else's alternative viewpoint. I love to collaborate, and I think it's important that we do. And I love alternative views. So I just don't personally see it in my analysis.
No, I definitely get that, but I was curious to know your thoughts on it as well. Definitely keep that in your minds, like yourself and then everyone listening at home as well, because I think we get, especially in this community, I remember you were talking earlier in this pod about, I don't want to put out maybe 45 to 50K because that could be clickbait. Dude, this is the XRP army. Like, we're going to 100K XRP. What do you mean?
Yeah, right. Right. I think $1 XRP sounds like clickbait, and some people think it's $50,000 it's clickbait. So yeah, I know. We're just like, it's totally different worlds. And I entertain, I think a lot of people, when they come across my work or they listen to my podcasts, they think I'm like a Bitcoin maxi. And I like have to continue to remind them that XRP is my second biggest position. And for the fact that I've been in this game profitably since probably 2020 as a heavy investor, and during my during the launch of my crypto mastermind course, when the day the lawsuit happened, this big death candle right here, I was on film saying that I am buying all the XRP right now. When the market moved up into $1.40, $1.50, I was on YouTube saying I am selling my XRP right now. So it's like, bro, I'm not here to play that game with people to prove myself. And it's also, I'm trying to help. Like, I'm trying to remove this like fucking hypnosis that people are under, you know? Like, I'm all for the SEC case ending and it being a positive ruling for Ripple and like this coin entering price discovery again. Don't you think that would be dramatically beneficial for me, as it's my second biggest position? So it's weird. Sometimes think I'm like anti it or I'm against it, and they just don't get it, that what I'm really against is cults. I'm anti-cult mentality, and I'm also anti-victim. I'm anti-blame game. This is what my work really wants to, like, what I really thrive for is for people becoming self-reliant, and for people taking personal responsibility, and for people becoming better at investing their attention when they used to pay their attention. And if I could build these skills in people, then that's ultimately going to change their game the most. Not just fucking telling people that based on this idea and this thing, we could have a 10,000 XRP. It's just like, we're not learning here if we keep entertaining this stuff. And you're probably never going to take profits at some levels that look kind of concerning. And that's how I felt back in 2021. And who was feeding my family in my own mouth? Me, not some guy on Twitter. So people need to learn that like this is about you. It's your journey as an investor. And it's beautiful that you're following along mine and Bull's work. I mean, I'm grateful as shit that people care about what I do. I would never, deny that. I think it's dope. We have such a beautiful kind of opportunity here as a community, collaborating with another community, right? To help expand consciousness. But in order to do that, we need to remove the tribalism. We need to escape the cult.
I think the most destructive thing for people as a whole is that they get dissuaded into making money for the potential of more money.
Mhm.
Isn't that crazy? Like, and
I
I
talked about it on my last live stream.
I, I had a very concerning moment when I posted on my Instagram the other day a reel where I said, this is why people never become XRP millionaires, because when there's a place to take profits, and I gave the $2 mark as an example, um, people don't take profits, and I'm guilty as shit of it too. I didn't take profits at $2, even though I was saying, all right, this is probably the local top. I'm not going to take profits because I'll probably wait until we eventually, hit a higher target that I'm actually looking for. But looking back on it now, there's actually a client of mine, and we were having a group AMA, and he's like, Bull, this is it, $1.90. I'm selling all my XRP. I'm buying a condo. And I'm like, all right, best of luck to you, dude. And there are people over here saying, oh, bro, you're gonna miss it.
Yeah.
Well,
It's never enough, right? It's
that
never enough.
that motherfucker's in a condo right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Homie's in a condo and
He's
you're on a
chilling.
beanbag chair with Cheeto dust fingertips complaining on Twitter, Like,
Man.
so salute the man in the condo. Congratulations. He did what he was here to do, which is he
But
created an investment thesis and followed it.
But what was so concerning about what I posted is that I said the reason people never become millionaires with XRP is that you're not going to take profits when it's time for you to take profits. And people are like, oh, Bull, what happened? You're just a FedNow. You're switching up. You're part of they're part of whatever thing. And I'm just over here looking at it. I'm like, this is what I mean. I get it. This
Yeah.
is what I mean. And trust me when I say I'm a bigger XRP fan than all of you. I've been making videos on this fucking asset for 5 years.
Right.
Right? Like, how much longer do you want to wait, to just make some money? Like, I'm gonna have
Yeah. And I mean,
a portion of my bag that I hold forever just because, right? Let's say this bullshit does happen where we could hit 5 figures one day. Fine, I'll profit off it because I'm never gonna sell all my bags. But I'm not waiting on it, right? There are
yeah, the
things
waiting game doesn't serve you.
it doesn't serve you. So, and if people haven't realized, especially people that have been here since maybe 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, we didn't even reach new all-time highs. If that's what you were waiting for, well, it's 5 years. It's about to be 6 years. Imagine 6 years without a new all-time high. You didn't take any profits at all. Now, I'm not saying to sell now when there's a little pump, but I am saying have some profits that are realistic so you can make some money. Imagine that. Imagine you don't take realistic profits and then you have to wait another 4 years. Jesus. A decade of waiting for XRP.
The thing that people don't realize is when you become an investor, you're not here to actually, like, you shouldn't necessarily be focusing all of your energy into making money. You should be like, it's to hedge against inflation. It's to kind of prepare yourself for the future and like prepare your family for the future. And like, you have this long-term mindset. And it was until crypto was invented that the mind state of investors shifted to, okay, I'm in crypto to make a fuck ton of money. That's never how it was. Investing was initially like a fuck you to the standard retirement plan.
Yeah.
And to be 60, 70 years old and have the government paying you back an allowance on your own earnings like a child. Instead, you put take it into your own hands, start dollar cost averaging, and then you sell the same way you dollar cost average. So, I mean, if we take the amount of time from, let's just say when XRP in 2018 dropped down, it's about 30 cents again. That's about September 2018. Then we have all the way until this moment of pretty much March, April of 2021. We had 900 days. Let's just say it's 2.5 years. And you had, maybe $500 invested every 12 months. And we're multiplying that by 2.5 years and divide that by, let's just say 28-cent XRP. That's getting you about 53,000 XRP. You multiply that by $1. Let's just say you only sold it at $1 in the pump of April 2021. You see how much money you have. You have 50 grand now. And then since then, which has also been 800 days, almost the same amount of time, you could have started a business in the last 2.5 years with that 50 grand. But instead, you're here waiting. Like, I know you know about business. How many businesses could you start with 50 grand startup? Many.
Hey, you could start a lot for free.
Exactly. That's my even deeper point. Is at the same phone you already own to text and scroll all day on Instagram is the same phone you could convert into something that earns you money. The same thing with your laptop. Most people have both. So, but I mean, to go like to go super, super deep, like if you had 50 grand based off of a $500 investment month after month, which is, that might be a lot for some people, but still, let's just say that it was a difference between 20 to 50 grand. It's still an exorbitant amount of money to be able to start a new business. Instead of the waiting game, you're taking action. And that's another thing that I promote. A majority of the time, I see it's not being utilized by the average new retail investor that focuses on crypto, specifically investors that focus on one coin. So it's the trap of traps. And I know it kind of hurts people's feelings sometimes, but that's part of the waking up process. Like, there's other opportunities out there. I know the XRP people are super anti-Bitcoin. That seems to be another thing. So I've sort of finessed this whole game by doing both and showing that we could have a level-headed approach without this like cult mentality. We're not Bitcoin maxis and we're not like XRP army people. We're here to leverage on what the market gives us. So getting back to the ultimate point, for anyone that slept on Bitcoin because they were anti-Bitcoin maxi, but then had the opportunity to buy $5,000 Bitcoin and sell it at 50,000 while XRP was still at $1. I mean, you see where tribalism fucks you over, where you let belief get in the way of your investment thesis. Like, I'm not telling people to invest in Bitcoin right now. I'm just saying, like, there's plenty of real world examples for this. And I know me and you, maybe on our first interview, we talked about like Cardano and how many of the people in the XRP community slept on Cardano. If we would have put all of our investment into Cardano instead of XRP, it would have been a much more lucrative investment decision.
There you go. Cardano was really the crypto that made me some of the most money that bull run. Yep.
Yeah. And there's plenty that can make you money. Like, I mean, I look back at my take profit orders and like kind of the way that I played that 2021 alt season. And I'm like, shit, man, like I wasn't super over diversified. Like I wasn't extremely over diversified, but I got some dope plays in. And if I was just stuck there with the Bitcoin maxi mentality, like I would have left a lot of profits on the table. Now, the problem with these altcoins is they lost fucking 95% of their value. Bitcoin did not. So there's something nice about being at least half in Bitcoin during a bear market. And again, that's another proven fact. Yeah. So this market isn't all about the positive moment of bull run. That's a short little blink of an eye. The bear markets are way fucking longer. They're way more depressing. And I think that by the next cycle, especially with people like me and you coming together and preparing, like, we're probably a year out from being in a noticeable recovery onto new highs. Dude, that's beautiful that we're starting this dialogue now. because then it's like we're preparing people for what's really going to be going on, and they're not going to be stuck waiting and waiting and waiting for these arbitrary clickbait price targets.
Yeah.
At least I hope they're not. I hope they kind of learn something from this.
You know what? The most powerful thing would be to learn, and I'm not sure if you've refined this or not. The best times to hold an asset and the best times to just hold USD, right? Because I think we talked about it on our last one that USD is nothing more than a tool to use in order to,
Yes.
maybe be stable, not be that that balls deep in volatility. So is there a method that you would recommend people potentially diving into to try and better time when to be in fiat, when to when to maybe be in some assets, when to just wait? Like, what is your methodology when it comes to holding fiat and maybe just waiting for an entry or just hedging against a crash?
Yeah, and it's a great question, and it's something that I harped on a lot during 2020, 21. I was talking a lot about the Shemitah cycle. I talked about it a little bit earlier as well when we were reviewing the charts. And I kind of remember, I think I was able to connect with you through talking with Coach JV, 3T Warrior Academy. It kind of like at least that was part of hooking us up together. And I talked with him about that before that event even happened. And on those interviews back 2 years ago, I was saying that cash is king, the fiat USD is king after a Shemitah. And I got crucified, seriously. But what I was trying to show people is that, well, these big market cycles correct, and USD is the world reserve. You're going to have chaos and all these other global currencies, all these other fiat currencies, and that bodes very well for the US dollar. And then I went on to call it the cleanest dirty laundry, which that I didn't invent that term. I heard it from somebody else. Shout out to them, whoever they
Amazing.
are. So I just called it the cleanest dirty laundry. It's like it's not the best of the best, but hey, it has the ability to purchase. It actually has utility, and it exactly the way it all went down was how it went down in 2022. So again, not trying to like go back in time and prove points here or anything, but it shows you that, especially if you're heavily focused in crypto, which I believe my community and your community is, when you have the end of these runs, you really need to start being more open-minded to cash. And you're gonna get hit with these huge capital gains taxes and all that other shit. There's probably other things that you guys can learn and finesse to, create an LLC, S corp, structure, trusts, blah 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 blah. But to just speak on the basics here, with the next bull run, I think we're setting up for a weird environment. So what I said back in 2021 was because of the Shemitah. We don't have another Shemitah until 2028. Okay. So we're like in between right now. And I have sort of a prediction that I think the stock market is going to recover and continue up into potentially 2025. So 2026, excuse me. So even though I
Heard
talked
that.
about a correction in September, October this year, that doesn't mean lights out forever. Like
Yeah.
we recover off this shit. It's the stock market. They print more money and we just keep it moving. Like we're not going into the Great Depression. That's another thing I keep telling people about. So
Yeah.
if people want to know Waters Above's doom and gloom time frame, it's 2028 into 2029 after the next Shemitah. I would have already had the YouTube channel for over 7 years at that point. We already went through one of those cycles, so we know how it turns out. What I think will be different, though, with these 4-year cycles and everything else that we tend to theorize, is this inclusion of something like FedNow. Is this inclusion like what we heard Christine Lagarde say about decisions, quote unquote, decisions they're making for the Euro Central Bank on the digital euro coming in October, right? So that could be another catalyst that sends this shit down the toilet. So we have so much stuff that could change coming soon. And I think it'll bring instant doom. But eventually, I think because we're in tech and there's so many on ramps into this market now, Yeah, they're going to do the same bread and circus they typically do. And I think we're moving into actually a pretty positive time for the US economy. As for the rest of the world, I can't speak on it because I think that Europe is going to go through some hard times. I think that the euro is quicker to be digitized. I think they will have an active CBDC much, much sooner than people might imagine.
Mm,
Um, and I don't think the US will, regardless of FedNow services going live. I actually spoke with somebody who's in fintech who congratulated me after they watched my newest decode that I just released because I created a whole presentation on FedNow talking about all my thoughts on it. It's an hour long. And they reached out to me and they congratulated me because they were like, dude, you're one of the few people that kind of sees how long it might take for the US market to actually implement some of this stuff.
yeah.
And he was agreeing with my thoughts about 2028 into 2029. Now, the last thing I'll say, because I know I just laid a lot on you guys, is I look at cycles. Just like I talked about with the 111-year cycle of the Titanic, we're about to move into the 111th year cycle of the Federal Reserve System. And that'll be next year in December, just around the time that I believe we will have a blow off top in the crypto market. So this could be a dual ritual, if you will. And speaking of cycles, about 2029, that'll be 100 years or 1 century since the Great Depression, which affected obviously the US market very dramatically. I hope that's not too much information for you guys, but just wanted to give you as much value as I can.
And that makes a lot of sense to me because I feel like something people in the XRP army specifically fall victim under is I feel like we have the way the narratives and the game is going to play out correct, right? That's what's frustrating. I think we've deep dived into so many documents and so much research and so much geopolitical shit, and we've looked at the macro environment so aggressively that we're like, okay, this is going to happen and then this is going to happen, and I know that all of this is going to happen right now here July 4th 2023, therefore I'm here and I think it's going to happen tomorrow or by the end of this year. And I think it's important to zoom out and understand how slowly banks move and how slowly governments move, as we know by this SEC case, right? I think we're pretty spot on with how we're seeing the game play out, right? CBDCs and there's going to be a big financial system shift, and there's probably going to be a big crash this year that could act for a catalyst for XRP and a reason for why it begins getting some adoption. But things are going to take longer as far as the whole big system that we expect to go online to actually go online, and especially in America. Look at how America is suing all the crypto, and look at how Asia is adopting all the crypto. Look at Dubai and how they're adopting crypto. Look at London and how they're adopting crypto. Part of the reason why I think the US is doing this is because we do have the privilege of having the world reserve currency, and crypto is a bit of a threat to that, right? That is a good way to kind of look at it, in my opinion. But also just the fact that we do have this agenda of going from west to east, right? This is going to be a more level playing field type of world, and that doesn't necessarily mean the best things for America. But we have some time to go, right? And people underestimate how long that time takes drastically. So
Similarly to how they underestimated how long it would take for this SEC case against Ripple.
there you go.
Well, I remember when it first happened, people who were completely unaware of how the US, legal system works were predicting, oh, this will just be, swept under the rug. It'll be fine in a couple months. It's like, okay.
A couple months. Oh,
But who is it? Who is that stuff coming from? It was coming from people who like their whole business model relies on this type of update, to keep the hopium injected into the main vein every week after every week. And it's clear as day to me that like this is just why this market is so easy to manipulate, because retail investors they're not seeing clearly because they have emotions tied to this.
Now, because of that as well, that's a big advantage we have too. If we can break the trap, break the manipulation, and just see it for what it is, that's a big window to make a lot of money, my friend. If you can read the manipulation and then break the trap and act upon where you know they're trying to take you, that's a whole different mindset right there. So let me see. I believe there was a couple other things I did want to discuss. Oh, yes. So I think I had remembered asking you in the previous episode about the specific date that you believe this Shemitah ending whole ritual thing, stock market potential implosion could take place. Could you remind me of when you think that is?
Yeah, so it has a lot to do with the October solar eclipse. And again, I know people are gonna be like, what? But that's been kind of the bread and butter of my channel over the past year, is kind
Now,
of telling
now let
people
me
about
give
these big pivots.
some context to what you're about to say as well. Ladies and gentlemen, a big reason why I have Waters Above in front of every single one of you is because in 2022, as you all know, that was a horrendous year for me. Why? Because I was patiently waiting for some alts to finally rise. Well, in reality, we saw boom, Terra Luna, right? Luna, and boom, FTX, right? Both implode on blood moons.
Yep, on
I
eclipses.
didn't believe in any of this bullshit until I saw that. And I said to myself, there is something here that needs to be tapped into that I'm not tapped into at the moment. Right.
And an even bigger event would be the pivot away from what we call the alt season, which happened on the May eclipse back in 2021. It started a 95 to 99% sell-off in a majority of the altcoin market.
Yeah. So
that was the pivot point right there.
So that's the context all of you need to listen to before dismissing whatever Waters is about to say. So I take these quote eclipses very seriously. I take some of these very big events very seriously. So just listen with an open ear, dismiss it if you'd like, take it if you'd like, and just watch as the modern day cryptodamus speaks.
Well, I appreciate you letting them know about this kind of stuff, because again, some of the times it blows my mind too, even when I'm prepared for it. Because when you watch it happen live, like what we just saw with the Titanic and the Titan submersible thing, I mean, that shit blew my mind. I literally have a YouTube video called XRP is about to break out, something like that. It was filmed about 3 months ago. In the thumbnail, it has a picture of the Titanic. It has the Titanic scene from that movie, and then it has the May Queen from that movie Midsummer, and that is celebrated on literally the summer solstice. When did that whole Titan thing happen? On the fucking summer solstice. Like, this is mind blowing. That blew me away. So like, again, there's something here to this code. Like, I don't need to prove it anymore. It's just, it's showing itself all the time to me. But getting back to the October timeframe, we are in a 50-year cycle. And what that cycle is called is biblical jubilee. Whether you're religious or not, that's how this market works. And back 50 years ago was 1973. This was the year leading into Nixon's resignation. And the market tumbled into 74 after his resignation, which was in August, and it led down into the fall time. This 50-year cycle, I think, is pretty hard to determine, because no one, even rabbis, don't even know when the official jubilee is. It's like a secret of secrets. I'm sure like the fucking royalty on earth and the elite, like, they're well aware. But as for us, we're humble decoders and we're doing our best with the cyclical nature and seeing how things have changed over time. I've been calling this the Jubilee year for a very long time now. And I think based on the way that this market has operated in 2023, it's pretty obvious. I mean, it's shown itself too that we're in a very, very weird market. And what I was predicting would happen would be a relief rally in 2023. And it's wild to see that after we had that FTX thing go down on that solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, excuse me, we downtrended all the way to like the last day of December. And then once January hit, it was completely the opposite direction. We just went up. And you can look at a lot of charts and see that. So this 2023 year is playing out as a Jubilee should, and that is a positive thing, but it ends with a bang. Okay. So I looked at this in a way that if I could take all the key years, including Black Monday event in 1987, we have the housing market crisis, we have the 2000 dot-com bubble, we have so many events, right? World War II. I mean, we could do this all day. But if I isolate out that early 1970s, and I did this in my newest decode, by the way. So anyone who's supporting me on Patreon, I really appreciate your support. And you're going to see so much of this detailed information broken down in that newest decode I released. I talked about like the presidency of Nixon at that time and what was going on in the economy and what was going on in the stock market. And it seems to be almost a replica of what we're watching today, just at a way larger scale. And of course, we have different companies, we have, et cetera, you know this, but getting to the point of it, the fact that we're seeing such a gnarly relief rally, it feels like a bull trap. And this means that the more we rise, the more we fall. And the time frame of this is kind of perfectly in a setup to the month of August. And with September being Rosh Hashanah, which is when we would be at the end of the Jubilee, because this all works off the Hebrew calendar. Since Jubilee will be over, it's like, well, now we could do what we want to do. And that's basically the global elite's way of saying, pull the plug, pull the rug, ritual of sorts. And I feel like with this lingering Ukraine-Russia narrative, it's probably going to be war-based, or it's going to be political. So speaking of the eclipses, we just watched with this recent eclipse on April 20th, Bitcoin topped out a couple days before that. And then once we had that eclipse, it smacked down. And I'm wondering now, are we going to be rising up until, maybe sometime later this month? It doesn't really matter to me. And will that be another key trigger event for the crypto market? Now, I don't think it's going to be as bad for Bitcoin this time around because it hasn't really ever been. I think it's going to be another sort of FTX thing or another thing like what happened with Terra Luna. So could it be an isolated coin or a full-blown exchange? Who knows? I think if I say what I just said, some people might have like alarm bells ringing and they might think of Binance. And I think a lot of people have started to speculate that Binance might be the next exchange that gets ritualized. I am not here to say that I feel like it's Binance, but I do kind of see where people would be coming from. Now, the next thing is stable coins. A lot of people have this theory of like something like a depegging of USDT, right? So we have plenty of shit that we could look to that like, what could the next event be? And if we see that FedNow launches and we make it through the later half of July into August, we'll see the reaction to all of that stuff and how the world stage is kind of setting up. And I think maybe it'll help us determine a little bit better like what the exact event will be. So do I feel like confident in it being isolated to crypto? It seems that that's been the card they've been pulling lately. Every time we have these eclipses, it seems to be isolated at the crypto market.
You know what's so interesting to me is that as they're going hard after Binance, there's this narrative being built that FTX is getting ready to relaunch. Isn't that unbelievable? Isn't that absolutely unbelievable?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where
And what did they say? They got like $1 billion. Like, where did they get that from?
like $6 billion, right? And then just the
Oh,
day before
6 billion.
there was like $6 billion missing from somewhere, right? So no, but I think
It's
they said they
the
recovered
Democratic
those.
Party.
Yeah, they said they recovered that money from somewhere. Maybe they got it from Ukraine. I don't know.
Have they admitted where they're going to start paying back their, like, have they started a payback plan, or like what's going on? Because I don't really know much of the scoop on that.
Dude, payback what? When have has anything like that ever occurred? I don't know what payback. There's no payback. Everyone's fucked, dude. Everyone's fucked.
There you guys have it. That's optimism right there.
That's optimism right there, dude. Like the best
That's
case
truth.
is that it ends and nobody ever talks about it again. No, and in all
Yeah.
seriousness, I think we're seeing one of those things where um I don't know if CZ is controlled opposition. I don't know if Binance is just being used as, an idealistic crypto narrative company in order to get retail in to like destroy them and then bring on the elites exchange back with FTX. But yeah, they're coming after CZ hard because I don't think FTX was supposed to fail. Like I really like as much as I believe things don't happen by accident. I don't think things happen by accident. I believe that FTX was very important to them, and I don't think they expected FTX to go down the way it did. I don't. Like,
Well, you bring up a great point, and I think what we could do to validate what you just said is just look at the amount of influencers that were at the highest levels of subscriber count on the financial media pushing FTX. They were pushing it in their description with referral links, and they were pushing it just as recommendations. So, like, I remember vividly during the bull run when I was just starting my channel, I was getting bombarded with like people asking me questions about FTX, and I disregarded it. I kept disregarding it because I didn't like really have the energy to get into it at that time. I was designing a new course, and you know me, like when I get into something, it's 110%. Everything becomes like static. I'm very focused.
yeah.
So I pay attention to what I think matters most. And as a decoder and a conscious being and somebody who's into the esoterica, I try to stay away from like common popular shit. I take the words of Oscar Wilde very closely to heart, where it's like everything that's popular is wrong. And when I'm seeing like Meet Kevin and like all these other huge YouTubers who used to only talk about like housing market or credit cards, now they're talking about crypto because we're in a bull run. It's like these guys are fucking shills. They'll sell whatever they can to get whatever. They don't really probably even use any of the products, and they're influencers. That's what influencers do. They just take money from other people to promote other people's garbage. And that was interesting, right? To see how there was so much of that. And yeah, that's really the only thing that I could comment on to like sort of validate where you're coming from. There was too much of that positivity and push for FTX. So it tells me that the New World Order was betting on it. The New World Order was funding it. The New World Order wanted it to be this thing. And but then on the other side, it's like, well, the thing the New World Order loves to do is to rug pull you, is to, to take it all. They're vampires. Vampires suck your blood. So you're kind of yeah, I feel where you're coming from. But as for the CZ part of it, and isolating out Binance, it just seems like there's the Chinese Communist Party, like they're the CCP idea for me feels like they're designed to be the head honchos of the future of the transhumanist movement. And things like social scores and all of that are being pushed into the first world that we know, the Western world, slowly and very like it's a beautiful chess game they're doing. I mean, even if you go book on like Airbnb, one of the first things you do is you look at the ratings, right? We're all looking at ratings before we make decisions. Social score is already a fucking thing. If you tie that to your credit score, then boom. Like now it's not as draconian as the one they're using in China, of course, where they could just deny you a flight or deny whatever. And I urge everyone to go do their own research if they're uncertain of what I'm talking about. But my bigger point here is that I think that's where the world is headed, into like a big Black Mirror episode. I do think America will be one of the last to adopt these sorts of things. But still, my timeline's still like 2029, as I said earlier, 2029, 2030.
That's right before that 2030 UN agenda, right?
Exactly. And that's another piece that like I'm glad you just reminded me of, because I haven't spoken about that in a long time. There is that component of Agenda 2030. And the World Economic Forum was pretty clear on what their whole thing is. Like they want to push everyone into a renter economy. They want to push everything into borrowing. And there will be no ownership. They're not hiding what they want to do.
I think we have a very small window of time left to be able to make money. Like genuinely as a whole. I think we genuinely have a very small window of time left to make money on the world stage.
Well, one thing I could add to that is I think we have a very small window to build a foundation of knowledge. There will always be money to be made, brother. But the time that we squander scrolling aimlessly at bullshit, at cheap dopamine, is really the loss of the investment. Your most powerful investment in this world is your attention. Learn how to use it. Because if you could use from now till the end of this year and just commit to the next 5 months that you're going to be building something, whether it's educational, awareness, whatever, business, whatever, then you're setting yourself up for this draconian, future. And there you're going to have that foundation and that base, and you're going to have the mindset to take on these changes as they come, as all the changes that have happened to our ancestors. So there's a bright side to it all, but you can't waste your time now. As for the tight window of making money, I think there'll always be opportunity. Will it be fun to make money in the future with the way things are headed? I'm not sure. I think right now we're going to watch the fun go away with the adoption of the utility of ChatGPT, because it's taking the artistry away from the creator. We're now allowing AI to do it for us. And there's this like, oh, well, now I can make this money copywriting with ChatGPT. It's like, okay, but like, you're going to make this money and then you're going to be fucking bored because you're not going to have any essence of creativity coming out of you. You're just going to be behind the AI. Don't you see where this is like moving? So in the future, where we used to have 10 employees, then there'll just be one and it's operating AI. And we know this. We know that's where it's heading. But if you think you won the game because you learned how to use the AI the best, I want you to wake the fuck up now, because you're going to be a bored person with a job. You're going to be bored because you don't put any mindset, you don't burn any calories to actually do anything. Like they might as well just strap a VR headset on you and, a tube that puts liquid food in your mouth. Like there's a truth to boredom. And if people think that money solves problems, that's not how it works. Money solves money problems. You need to find something that really makes you want to wake up in the morning. And waking up in the morning and using OpenAI ChatGPT is, trust me on that, it's not gonna last long.
This has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. Has absolutely nothing to do with crypto or anything investment related at all. I just want to say this. I had vegan food for the first time in my life, like ever, like last week. And I ate that shit. I was like, okay, like some broccoli, some fried broccoli with some sweet chili sauce. And then I'm like, okay, what's next? I'm like, okay, nice, some vegetable sushi. I'm like, what an unbelievably miserable life.
Whoa.
And I say this because I'm like, I'm a massive meat eater. I love meat so much, bro. I love it. I love it. I love my steaks. I love my chicken. I love my fish. I love everything. But they want
Okay.
me to eat the bugs and 3D printed meat and vegan replacement fish and meat and all this bullshit, and the climate activists are stopping traffic. I'm like, what a shitty existence that people want you to live in. Like, what an
Hmm.
unbelievably depressing scenario. I'm like, for what? For what?
Well, I
What is
do
this
think that,
power? What is this power of this agenda? I don't understand how individuals don't see what's coming. Like AI included, like our diets included, our eventual Neuralink chips and our 17 boosters that we need to take in order to use the toilet. Like, bro, it's unbelievable.
well, it's interesting that there's a push to what I would just call processed food. I wouldn't call it a vegan thing
Oh,
because
I understand. I understand. I'm just talking shit, to be honest.
yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Like, and it comes my way quite often on my live streams. You know, people talk about this agenda, and I think it's pretty obvious to me that it's just more processed food. And I'm heavily against alternative meats and alternative milks and alternative cheeses. I think this is just one of the worst forms of a processed food because it's a processed version of another processed food, and that it ends up being void of nutrition. And that's really all that matters when we think of consumption. But I feel where you're coming from. I think we are in this like moment where it's tapping into every part of what we believe a day is. Everything from how we eat to how we communicate to how we earn money to how we run a business. That's really the interesting conversation, you know? And if we were to look back at what was like maybe 10 years ago, it's totally different thing. And wait till we're being rewarded in crypto for the movement we make, because that's really where I think it's going to be. Like there's two things, right? It's obviously going cashless, and then number two is a rewarding of being rewarded for movement. So when that system moves in, like get the fuck out of here. Like you'll find me in a mountain alone with a like I'm out, bro. Like I'm not living in a world where like I have to deal with this type of biometric reward system madness. And I know that's what crypto is ultimately created for. Like really what blockchain technology was designed for was that sort of outcome. It had nothing to do with freedom or sovereignty. It has everything to do with you play Twitch all day, you get rewarded some whatever token, that token has whatever value, and that's just step one. And then moving forward, you know, it's going to be every single streaming app. You'll have OnlyFans operating like that. YouTube will operate like that. They'll just reward you in their native token based on what you do. Then you'll have it in the workplace. Like, get out of here. Like, people don't see that coming. I think that's way bigger than some of
Yeah.
the things that happen at restaurants.
Yeah. There's gonna be all the social credit incentivized behaviors are gonna get some positive like economic value to them. I definitely see that. I definitely
Yes.
see it. But that's, most people don't think about these things. And well, kind of what I was trying to get at when I said there's a small window of opportunity to make money. I mean, like genuinely change your life money, because the world they're trying to take us into is a world where they're trying to cut off that private ownership of property. They are trying to move into a more socialistic, globalized world. And in that world, economic mobility, in my opinion, is going to be unbelievably limited. I mean, that's the way most of the world operates right now. It's really
Hmm.
mostly just the US, right? There are some
Hmm.
other spots where maybe you could gain some freedom, but mostly it's the US. Choose your little economic hub, and that's all you got. And so I can't stress to everyone at home these two things. You need to be operating with urgency these next couple months into the next couple years, because your window to make some wealth, to be able to free yourself for whatever's coming in the world, is closing, as far as I can tell. And two, um, your ability to navigate change is what's going to make you the most money. The most money happens in periods of massive change, because in that change, that's when you could get wet. And when I say that, I mean there's a shifting of the tides. Just put yourself in front of the water. Get wet by accident. Find where the money is moving to, and then you'll get rich by accident by just being in the middle. Right. So
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. Like there's something about being accidentally on the right side of things. But when you really when you look at it, like it is never accidental. Like you position yourself accordingly and you had an investment thesis or you had some sort of plan. I think what makes people suffer the most is they never stick to the plan. They have this shiny object syndrome. They get distracted, so take everything Bull just said and then consider the consistency part of it and the commitment part of it. Like first you need to make a commitment to yourself, right? But what's a solution to some of this stuff, man? Like, what would you tell some people as a solution to what you see coming, whether it be a short-term solution or maybe a longer term? Is it something to do with business? Is it something to do with getting multiple citizenships and passports? Like, how would you reply to that if somebody asked you, what would you do?
I believe that there's going to be pockets of communities in the world that are going to reject what's coming. And but I also understand that the best way to do that and to build your own communities to reject whatever's coming is to get unbelievably rich and unbelievably well connected. And I believe networking with extremely powerful, motivated, and open-minded people is the best way to prevent yourself from being a little sheeple and getting absolutely slaughtered. Because if you have a powerful network of people, um, I believe that the weight of human capital is going to be very heavy in the years to come. People make things happen more often than money does, in my opinion, right? And of course, when I say that, I don't mean that you can't make magic happen with money, but oftentimes, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you want to get into a club, right? Maybe you have, a couple $100, you try and tip some, no, they won't let you in. They don't care who you are. You can't get into the club. But let's say, the security guard in the front, whew, now you can get into the club for free. Isn't that interesting? How an expensive environment and somewhere where you couldn't even get in with a couple $100 because it's strict and there's a lot of limitations to getting access to a place you can suddenly gain access to for knowing a security guard and being friends with him. Maybe you know the owner. Maybe you know somebody else. I think there's going to be a moment in time where people's connections are going to have more weight than their net worth.
Oh man, that's always been the case. I love what you're talking about right now. You're talking about relationships.
That's it, brother.
Yeah,
It's
relationships are an extremely valuable currency.
yeah. So I feel like that's very underestimated in this world, and it's something people need to definitely build on and develop and meet powerful people and meet motivated people, and more than anything, meet open-minded people with their eyes open, all three of them. Huh, a wink. But when I say that, I genuinely mean it's just avoid NPC culture. There are people that don't operate on a wavelength of freedom, on a wavelength of awareness. Genuinely, people are asleep at the wheel, and it's frightening to see. People you love, people you're
Yeah.
probably friends with, your own family. Those are the first ones that are asleep at the wheel. And those are the first people that will try and drag you down into the reality that they're going to head into. And you have to break the
Yeah.
spell. You have to break the trend, and you have to go against the tide of peer pressure, right? So
It's tough, man. I think that's the biggest one. I don't even, there's not one particular investment or maybe trend that I think is more of weight than the other, but I think the weight of human capital is important. Learning AI is going to be important, just to like, or at the very least, having a team of people that know how to use AI very well. I think that's going to be priceless. And aside from that, I think land is going to be great if they still allow you to buy some in 5 years, right? It's
Yeah.
my friends.
Yeah, man. Touched on some really, really, really important points. And I definitely agree with what you said about relationships, because every year I make 2 commitments, actually 3. I make a commitment to what I'm going to focus on the most with my business. And then I make a commitment of what I'm going to focus on most in my life. And then I focus, my third thing is a product, something I want to create. And if I could do those 3 things in a year, I feel like I've accomplished 1,000,000%. You know, that's really where the value of what I feel best by performing. And coming back to the second thing of like what I wanted to commit to as just a person was relationships. So 2023 has been really my mission to go back and take an inventory of like who I keep in my life, who's in my circle. And I did recommend to people like in the beginning of the year, if there's anything that you could do, is take that inventory and trim some of the fat, because you probably have people that are like hypnotized in that what you called NPC culture, and like those people are not serving you, you know. But I'm far past that. I've been removed from that stuff a while, like a real long time ago. So now I need to like go within and see all the people that I've kind of not given attention to whilst growing my business. And I'm sure you know what this is like. Like when you become committed to this and you leave the job environment and now it's all on you, all of the losses are on you, all of the positives are on you, all of the setbacks are on you. Like you have people you're paying, perhaps like employed people you're helping out, whatever, right? So under that commitment, it's been interesting to watch how when I started this year to start focusing more on people, my quality of life got a lot better. Am I producing way less content? Yes. I've been actually missing out on weeks of putting out YouTube videos. I've missed out on doing live streams. But like at the end of the day, I feel so much more alive when I'm with real people doing real things. And like I couldn't agree with what you said more. So many people who become successful actually get lost in the sauce of their own success, and they forget where they come from, and they forget the value that real humans have. They somehow got tricked into the value is all coming from the people who support what they do, and that's from business. So I'm not like, it's kind of multifaceted. I don't want to get off the rails here, but damn, like if you can just pick something to commit to out of all things to change your life, it would be to change that circle of people that you give most of your time to, you know. And I think having somebody like you in my circle has been incredible, and I can't wait to see the things that we're going to do just by having our communities cross paths.
Oh, amen, brother. Amen. I think everyone appreciates you and your contributions unbelievably, and people have gained definitely a massive respect for your objectivity and the diversity of tools with which you draw from in order to get to that objectivity, right? I think it's been a pretty eye-opening experience, not just for me, but for everyone else. It's been definitely a journey trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, right? I think all of us are just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And you know, it's crazy. And what's very unfortunate is people don't get to see the best version of Waters. I get to see the best version of Waters when I call him after podcasts like this on Discord. And I'm like, bro, what's going on? It's true. But it's a mind-blowing experience to just be able to have the privilege of connecting with people. At the end of the day, I don't know how the fuck I made this happen. I'm some anonymous fuck on the internet who's just talking, and now I'm connected with some dope people, right? Including yourself and many others.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel the same way, man. I feel the same way. Like I got an email the other day from somebody who took my expansion mastermind course, which talks about like health and wellness and mindset and a lot of the other more philosophical things that I chat about. And they told me they lost 30 pounds and then they're off of like 10 medications and they're in the process of like completely reversing diabetes. And I'm like, yo, I'm not a crypto YouTuber anymore. Like my work has almost nothing really to, like it's the minutia when I go over the charts. Like we're making real shit happen. Like we have people reaching out to me telling me that they've started their business, they've started a business, or that their business was failing and that they were able to recover it off of some of these like strategies. And I'm like, damn, you know, like that humbles, it just brings me back to this place where if I didn't make the commitment to do the YouTube channel, all of that other stuff wouldn't have went down. So for me, I don't even give a fuck if we go into a bull run. It's irrelevant. Like we're able to tap into people at a level that's beyond just what a crypto asset does.
Yeah.
And if we don't utilize that voice, you know, of our holistic truth, then we're leaving out like the true, you know, all of the other part of our essence, our personality, like what makes you you. So, you know, I think me and you, we have the work that we do. Sometimes we're serious in it, but then like what's the most memorable moments? It's when we start laughing and the laughter's contagious and people start feeding off of that. And like that right there, it brings us back to like the human side of things where we're not just looking at charts or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a really important thing. And a lot of other influencers don't remind, I mean, maybe other influencers out there that have this market has gotten the best of them. Like I think one example, and I don't want to jump around too much, but I remember back at the end of the bull run, that guy Chico Crypto was talking about like his depression and like it was because he couldn't handle the heat of like what it's like to do this thing at that level. And it's sad to hear, but like, again, like this person also is disregarding their real life and the real players in their own life because they're getting caught up on what people are saying on Twitter comments. And it's like, if you let that shit get the best of you, like you're never going to be able to do this long term. You'll implode. It's like that scene in The Wolf of Wall Street. Like, but you know, jokes aside, like we all need to get back to like the fun sometimes and play and have more play. And we sometimes make really uncalculated decisions in life when we're taking shit so seriously. And that's not it, you know? So anyways, man, is there any like questions from your community before we wrap this up? I have some additional time I could spend with you.
Sure. For those of you in the audience, there's the Q&A bubble down here on Zoom. If you guys would like to ask Waters or myself any questions, it would be great to see them. Right, there are a couple of you guys that had asked some questions earlier that I believe did get answered throughout the video, but I'll wait a couple minutes to get maybe a few of you guys here. Actually, there's someone who would like to come on and speak. Is that fine with you, bro?
Yeah, of course.
Hello. How you doing? Hello, hello. Denise, you there?
I am here. Yes. Hello.
How you doing?
I am good. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Good, good. I just want to, first of all, I want to say that, you know, I love hearing both of y'all interact with each other. Y'all really do have a lot of good chemistry. And I love hearing the things you have to say. Waters, I wanted to ask you, ever since I first heard you, I think it was like back in January. I mean, I know like a lot of people aren't into like a lot of the things that you're into, but I do tend to like pay attention to like astronomical stuff, as far as like moon cycles, retrogrades, and that sort of thing. One thing I wanted to point out, you had mentioned something about August 30th and the blue moons and stuff. That's also in the middle of the next retrograde, which is August 23rd to September 14th. Do you think that will have any effect on anything that's going on? Because I know they honestly say like you shouldn't make big moves or anything during a retrograde or that sort of thing. And that also that communications and technical things tend to happen. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, and are you talking about Mercury stationed retrograde or some other planet? What exactly are you talking about?
I think it is Mercury retrograde because I know during the
Okay.
last one, I had some really weird stuff happen to me personally on a technological side. Like I had to get a new phone
Mm,
out of the blue
mhm.
and stuff like that. And then just other minute things that were like, they worked out, but it was kind of sketch. So, you know,
Yeah, I feel you.
yeah. But I just wanted to know what your take on that is.
Yeah, so what Denise is talking about right now is the next time Mercury station retrograde between August 23rd and September 15th, which coincidentally is the first day of Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew New Year. So that's absolutely significant, and that's perfectly in that time frame that I spoke on. Um, Actually, if I can, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. If I could find a chart that I actually mapped out all of the Mercury retrograde since C19 event,
Bro,
that could be interesting for you
you're
guys.
you're different, man. uh,
Yeah, I don't come from this planet, but I visited you guys to hang out for a little bit.
I know you're an alien, bro. Just let us know. The CIA is talking about you in those leaked documents.
Let me know if you guys could see this chart right now. It
Yeah, we
looks
can.
very,
Yes.
very messy, but all that matters is the points in these boxes. So what we're seeing here is every time we have these red boxes, that's when Mercury is stationed retrograde. One important thing for people to know about Mercury is tied to fiat currency, not wealth. It's a huge misunderstanding. People believe that it's tied to wealth, and it is not. It's tied to fake money, money created out of thin air. One of the more
Wait,
esoteric names we could call Mercury would be the Prince of the Power of the Air. What were you going to say?
I have a question. Yeah. How do you know that it's tied to fiat and not wealth?
Because it is tied to commerce and merchandise, which is completely up in the air based on belief. As
Okay.
opposed to something like gold, it has scarcity, or at least that's what we've been told. So
Interesting.
there's value being held. As opposed to like a NFT, we could just, Justin Bieber bought his NFT at like 1.3 million, and today it's like less than 60,000. It's fairy dust. It's belief. So when I think of Mercury, I specifically think of the Federal Reserve System. And anytime you see an eagle, that is Mercury. Mercury's symbol is the eagle. The logo of the Federal Reserve is an eagle. Okay. It's very important to know this. So yes, it's tied to finances, but particularly affects cryptocurrency because it's very fiat-like. Although yes, Bitcoin has a scarcity model, but when we talk about crypto, it's not just Bitcoin, it's 20,000 whatever altcoins. So getting back to this chart, now that you have a little bit of understanding, you can see that these tiny boxes here show percentages, and a majority of these moments we're negative, we're going down. And if we combine eclipses, that gives us even more data. I haven't updated what's written in these boxes since, but actually we did have a Mercury retrograde right here where from top to bottom on closes, we went down about 15%. So it does fit into that like 15 to 25% range of losses. So yeah, I think Denise brings up a great thing to consider. I just don't know if we can move up into that deep into August. I suppose the correction will come in a little bit earlier. So it'll be something maybe like this moment where you see we rise up, then we come down, we have a Mercury retrograde, and yes, that sends us another leg lower, and that's perfectly in my September timeframe.
Excellent.
Okay, that's very cool. All right. And all that information that you said about like the submersible, and yeah, that blows my mind still. The whole situation with that blew my mind in the first place. Like in general, I'm like, I have no reason to go down that far anywhere. So, but one thing I wanted to say to you, Bill, and this is totally off topic. I know how you said you love meat, but you really should consider making your diet more alkaline, because when your body is more alkaline, your body tends to heal itself better. But that's just what I want to say. But I do eat a varied diet. I just start back to eating chicken. I was pescatarian for many years. So,
I drink water and eat cows.
No, I'm kidding, Denise. I know it's
No,
balanced.
and I
It
mean,
is
water is
balanced.
important. Water is very important. You've got to drink water. So yeah, that's very important. But no, seriously, if you make your diet a lot more alkaline, you'll have a lot less issues. You tend to have like less indigestion, less of everything, because meats and dairy are so acidic. So you got to get a balance in there somewhere.
Yeah.
That's something I learned like when my late husband.
See, Denise, what Bearable Bull doesn't know is the first time I meet him, I'm going to take him to the woods for a week, and we're going to be locked in a cabin in the darkness, eating nothing but watermelon. And he's gonna leave a new man. He's gonna know the Akashic records as I do.
I'd rather starve.
Wow. Oh no.
I'll
This
have
is
all
what
the,
you say.
I'll have
This
all
is
the,
what you say.
I'll have all the
You're gonna leave with
reserves on my
superpowers.
body feed me for that week, and I'll just be fasting. I refuse to eat your stupid watermelon. I'm kidding, bro.
But-
Oh, shit.
So
That's
good.
great.
So good.
Denise,
But
I really-
Denise,
That's great. But no,
Denise,
thank
that's a
you. I just wanted to
valuable-
know
that's a
what your
valuable
thoughts
piece of
are.
information.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Yes, thank you very much. And y'all have a wonderful day and the rest of your week.
Thank you, you too.
You too.
But let's see. I think that, let's see. I think we have someone else. So this person is very special. He's actually one of my community moderators, and he's one of the people that really put me on to you the most. He's a good friend and someone that genuinely loves you to death. Brace, welcome. I promised you. I got you.
Yes.
He's a big fan, brother.
We're finally
Oh, that means
here.
a lot to me.
Hello.
And before you two get to talking, I just want you to both observe this. You guys both sound like each other to me. You both speak the same way, and it's a little tricky. So for everyone in the audience, just know that this is the Matrix glitching a little bit. There you go.
Hey, Waters.
How's it going, man? How you doing?
Good, man. Great to meet you. And I had emailed you like months before you ever connected with Bull, and I was the mod that reached out, and I had bought your course, and I was like, hey, do you want to connect with him? And at the time, it just wasn't the right time, but ended up happening anyway, which is awesome.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But yeah, so I had tagged you a while back, and I reached out to Bull too, because you know, I figure that you're just super busy, and sometimes things just get drowned out in notice. But basically, I was trying to develop a trading system based on the moons, as well as like some other indicators, and kind of formalize it, because I feel like, so I have a TA YouTube channel as well, and I cover it using like the moons, and I don't know as much about astrology and numerology, but
Yeah.
what I was thinking is going along the lines of something like creating like a working functional trading strategy that other people can sort of use and follow and like back test it and things like that, and have like trusted people to like support. I mean, there's definitely people in probably both of these communities who are knowledgeable enough and trustworthy enough to like do some back testing and go back and see if it would work, and just, you know, basing future trades off of history for the people who want to pull swing trades and such. I don't know if that's in your wheelhouse of stuff to do, but yeah, that was the main thing I was going to ask about.
Yeah, so I actually just got off of a couple of meetings this week with people asking me the same thing. So people are super interested in my system as they've seen it play out, and I don't just focus on moons as like my priority. There are other, you know, indicators and confirmations we need when it comes to trading and determining, you know, where to bet your money, if you will. So I've had so many people to the point where I'm like, oh, okay, this is something intriguing, and I think it could be a collaboration to come in the future. My one thing though is I cannot commit to anything probably until the fall time, because I have a new course coming out called Decoding Mastermind, and I'm going to be pouring all my energy into that. Once that's out and once that's like available and you hear me talking about it, then I would love for you to reach out to me and we could kind of start the conversation there.
Cool. That sounds good. And yeah, I'm right there in the same wheelhouse with you, as in regards to, like, I always tell people, like, you can't just trade the moons. Like, if you're doing that, you're just going to get smoked. Like, you just can't do it. It's a great indicator that can tell us things, but you know, it needs to be combined with more like traditional TA stuff as well. But that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
And it's an oversight from most people because they come to my channel and they hear about the full moon being bearish and the new moon being bullish, and then they start like disregarding everything else because they feel like they found, you know, the only thing that matters. And that's never been the way that I've spoken of this idea. It's just a part of the market. The same way when Denise brought up the Mercury retrogrades, it is a part of the influence on how crypto typically tends to move. But if we're looking at a chart and all the indicators are pointing bullish, then what are you doing going against the TA? You know, so it's all about combining. You want to combine the TA with the esoterica, and this gives you a really super dialed in system.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Bryce, you
Well,
have
thank you.
you have any other questions? Might as well, right? Like, here you go.
Honestly, you guys covered pretty much all of it. The Titanic thing, that was crazy. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that blew my mind. Like, when you guys were talking about it, it never really clicked with me until you said it, and I'm just like, holy crap, right? I was like, damn, that was a wild.
Dude, I'm gonna say this. I'm going to say this right now, just so Bull knows kind of like where I'm at in life. But when that event happened, my phone started lighting up from area codes all around the world. And I was like, kind of worried.
Well, that's
like, I was sincerely, I was like, yo, is the fucking Illuminati trying to reach out to me? Like,
bro. That's normal shit, bro. You're fine. You'll be all right.
no, I mean that my phone is never ringing. And when that event happened, I started getting these calls from all over, and it was really wild. I started getting these emails from people. It was just an interesting thing. So yeah, I mean, to be able to predict that event into that timeline, I think a couple of people who were in the know started sharing like, oh, okay, I think this guy knows something. And my whole take on it was like, you know, like we just had this system and we used it, and it's on public YouTube videos. It's not really that complicated. There are aspects to it that are pretty heady, but ultimately, I mean, anywho, hopefully I'm around for a while with you guys.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully you stick around just in life. I pray that happens, bro.
In a way, it's kind of similar to TA, where it's like you just have this theory and you kind of run with it, and you assume like you don't really know exactly what's going to happen, but you know that something is going to happen within a general frame of time. If you just keep an eye out for it, when you see that type of stuff happen, you're like, damn, I can't believe that worked. And then it happens enough and you start to gain confidence in the system, and it's a really cool evolution. I'm really happy for you. And yeah, it's great to meet you, brother.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, keep in touch, Bryce. We'll make some happen.
We'll do.
We have one other person that has their hand raised. We have Seb Crypto Trades.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm really happy to be here. Happy to be able to chat with you guys really quickly. I have a question for Waters, and it's, well, I guess it could be for the both of you. I've been in crypto for about 3 years now, and after the 2022 bear market really started hitting, I kind of got stumped. So I got into NFTs, and I really started enjoying the communities over there. I found something that I did not find within usual crypto groups, especially like crypto signals groups on Telegram. And I ended up just staying in these groups. And as we shifted into 2023 and late 2022, I started getting back into crypto and I started relearning everything. And at this point, I'm at the point where NFTs are completely kind of pointless to me in terms of my path. But I'm in all of these groups where I work for them, where they either have some sort of NFT for access to the premium section, or they have a subscription based off of a USD monthly payment. And what I do is I give classes and posts in there, but it's very hard to expand out of that and to get people to actually start caring about the real things, which is essentially what you teach, Waters, and real TA and how to actually trade. Most people are just going from kind of like degen gambling mindset of NFTs into slightly, you know, learning what crypto trading is. They're like, oh, what's Seb's doing? I'm curious what he's doing. Like, I keep losing money with this and I want to learn this. So out of like hundreds or thousands of members, only a handful really are actually very interested in the work that I do and what other people do as well, which is analysis, calls, etc. So I want to know, how would you, if you were in my position, how would you look to expand? Because I really want to expand and teach more people, help more people out. but I feel extremely limited by being in these groups, and I don't know where I should go.
Are you making content like on a YouTube channel, or are you
So I
just
have
in the groups?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel and I have a Twitter, but I don't feel any need to do that as my whole audience is on Discord at the moment. And I feel like it would take a ridiculous amount of time and energy, which I'm already spending quite a lot of my resources at the moment, just giving classes, making posts and networking within Discord, that I don't know if making like weekly and daily posts on Twitter and making videos on YouTube. Once again, I did YouTube for about 10 years, so I know how YouTube works. But
Oh,
I know it's
wow.
also, I know it's very, very difficult as well to actually make content which gets out there, especially real content, right? Like we all
Yeah.
know what kind of content blows up in terms of crypto on YouTube. Like we all know, and I'm not interested in any of that. And so for me, that's the hard part of wanting to make a whole bunch of free content on YouTube.
Yeah, this is an interesting scenario because I'm not entirely sure what will bring you peace. Are you looking for what are you really looking for? What do you want? What do you
Yeah,
desire?
I mostly want to teach people. Like that's the main thing. So my goal is later this year, I'm going to start driving everyone in the groups that I'm a part of into my own Discord group, and then they can start driving into my Twitter, and then eventually I'll start making YouTube videos of that. But I don't know if I'll be able to get enough people, or at least be able to expand well from that. Especially with how much work I'm already doing, it's very hard to imagine me making multiple YouTube videos a week or even a month, plus a bunch of Twitter posts. And on top of that, I'm already working on a couple of courses to help people actually understand trading in a really, really simplified manner. That's
Okay.
the main thing.
When you say you're working on courses, how many courses are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting with my first one, which should be done this week, which is just to help people get out of NFTs into trading in general. And then that one's going to be like 2 hours long of content. Then the next one's going to be in a couple of months, which is more about just understanding how cryptocurrency works and how you can trade it versus other markets. And later on in 2024, I'll make some other ones if I want.
It sounds like you put so much on your plate and you haven't really executed much.
Yeah, because execution wise, what I do is I give about 10 classes a week, which are about an hour long. And I also give a lot of one-on-ones, which I charge a decent premium for, because I give a lot of value to those people which are in the groups. So I mostly spend my time in live calls, making huge write-ups. Like just today, I did a whole write-up giving people potential targets with all of my analysis using smart money concepts, using your type of analysis, etc. And so that's mostly what I do, but it only really gets out to, a couple hundred people at the most.
So you want more attention or more time back?
Both, essentially both. I want a mix of both.
Okay. Yeah, so like where's this unicorn exist?
Yeah, so
it sounds like you want like a fairy tale kind of like I don't know, like I believe it sounds like you're savvy, you're quick with your words, like you have a perfect kind of like thing going on regarding the way you deliver. You're very good at public speaking, obviously. So maybe it just sounds like you got to trim some of the fat and you have to prioritize like what is really going to bring you to that goal, whether it's buying time back or whatever. You kind of have to pick something. But it sounds like adding courses and then adding all this other stuff. It's just like you're piling and piling and piling, and now you're just looking at a leaning tower of fucking tasks.
Yeah, that's been my life for the past 5 years, basically. But for me, it's just there's so much that I want to do, so much I want to give, that I'm having a hard time managing everything, as I'm pretty much just on my own doing this. But I do have a vision. I already know kind of where I'm heading. I just want to know, is it really kind of the best thing that I can do? Like, I'm curious to know how I can optimally share my work in the space and help people navigate the markets, which to me, my idea is just drive people into my own communities, kind of like what you're doing, where instead of really focusing on YouTube right away, I would focus on private groups, bring them into my own Discord. And then from there, I can start making more public content. And then I don't have to do as many courses because I'll be just doing a couple a month just within my group instead of dozens over multiple groups a month. And on top of that, I'll be able to very simply get a lot more income and be able to help a lot more people with courses, which doesn't take my time once they're done.
Can I chime in very quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're overthinking it a bit. I think a lot of people get stuck on the how can I do this? What is the best strategy? And it's oftentimes the best thing to do is just to do it, even if it's like
1% of the quality of work that you can normally put out, right? There are days when there have been days throughout the bear market where I've put out videos that I put 10% effort in. And by that, I mean my blood, sweat, and tears were not put into it as much as maybe a podcast episode is, as much as an interview is, as much as another video is. But I know that that content and that news getting out there is more important than maybe just getting it perfect, right? I think that instead of having the mindset of how can I get my time back and how can I best make the use of the content that I make, I would say put more output out and maybe change the way you do it. Maybe what you should do is maybe continue the YouTubes, and instead of having it be like course style, maybe it's news, maybe it's just daily updates on how what your trades are, some little predictions, some analysis. You could also get into the how-tos, but also part of the psychology stuff like that, and go multi-platform, use Twitter, use TikTok, use Instagram, use YouTube Shorts. I recommend higher input, and one of them has to hit eventually, dude. Even if it's not 1 million followers, if you got 10,000 and they like what you do, that's a life right there. That's high quality, and you could still build your Discord and do your private ground and pound groups that you're doing now. So that would be my recommendation and how I'd go about it. But
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I think for me, I'm noticing potentially a very strong, I don't know if I would use the word limiting belief, but for me, having done YouTube for so long, having tried so many niches and having gone really, really deep into some of them, having seen essentially no success, even after blood, sweat, and tears, made it very difficult for me to want to go back to something which I essentially already gave up on. Like I already sold all of my camera equipment. I had to rebuy some stuff because I started adding more quality to my classes recently. And so it kind of feels like, in a way, like taking a step back or going against kind of the grain of what works for me potentially, which might be something for me to explore and heal.
Understood. That's tough. That's a tough way to respond.
I'll say some final words of wisdom. You got to just pick something. And I think what I see is on the social media side of things, people like go out of their way to pay these huge marketing teams to have like 10 different social profiles active at once. And anyone who follows my work, they know that I use YouTube pretty much as my only social. And then I just use Twitter and Instagram for fun. Like I've turned it into fun. It's my way of using those platforms to just share some music I'm listening to or some lyrics I like. Like I really don't take that shit too seriously. And I think what the consumer does not want to see is an update on 15 different social streams. So the people who like really like what you're doing, they like what you're doing for a reason. And then any other social streams that they start to follow along on, they're going to want unique material. They're not just going to want it to be the same updates across the board. Like I know that basically from just the researching behavioral economics. But on the other side of things, then it just piles more on your plate. And it sounds like that is already your core issue. So if you have a little bit of trauma attached onto YouTube, which is perfectly fine, you know, I get it, but still, like maybe just go back to the YouTube thing with what you've built now and stick to that, commit to that, and give something new. Like the world right now just needs kind of something different. And if you're a fan of my work, which I believe you are, and I believe you might even be in our community as well, I'm doing something different, you know, and that's attractive that there's somebody doing something different. It's not about it being good or about it being bad. It's about it being unique. And so I kind of would tell you at this stage right now, based on how much you're doing, maybe just take the night to meditate on what is unique about what you do, and then push that. Whether you're pushing that through your branding or you're pushing that through your intro or you're pushing that through your content, push that.
Thank you, man. That's really good. I've been part of the Patreon for a while, and I've listened to you on YouTube for I don't even know how long at this point. It's been maybe 2 years. I don't even know. It's been forever. Yeah, you've really helped me kind of get out of the problem with how I learned crypto is that I essentially followed what I would say the wrong people, which is those people which were making crazy thumbnails, crazy predictions, were saying to just, maximum leverage your whole accounts. And that's how I basically lost everything in 2022. And I had to rebuild myself to actually learn risk management, which is what my main thing is. It's teaching risk management, like strong concepts of trading, being able to apply it to any markets. And what I've done as well in the Discord groups is share some of your work. Anytime that I could, I would give a resume, I would resume what you would do in a public video. And I would say, hey, like this guy has been talking about this. Like, for example, whenever FTX happened, I was warning everyone about a month or two beforehand saying, hey, water's above this guy, right? I don't give a fuck if you think he's schizophrenic or crazy for saying this, right? Look at it and we'll see what happens after, right? Do the moons work? Does gematria work? Does this stuff look crazy? Maybe to you, but to me, it makes fucking sense. And if after this FTX thing happened, which everyone was mind blown in the groups, if you still doubt him, then I'm sorry, but I can't help you.
Well, that really means the world to me, man. Like that really does. And I hope these responses from not only me, but also Bull have utility. And I seriously am excited to see how you grow for real. Like I am looking for both. I'll speak on the Bulls' behalf. Like I'm stoked to see what you're doing. So keep in touch, for sure. I would love to know your updates.
Thank you, man. I'll stay in the Patreon for sure, and I'm looking forward to buying some of the courses you have. I've held off because I literally don't have the fucking time to go through it right now.
Don't worry about it, brother. I mean, it means the world to me to have any support.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and input.
Of course.
Thank you, my friend. Now, I think Waters, we're running short on time. You've been very generous with your time, my brother. I really appreciate you. I don't know if you have any last or final words that you wanted to tell the community, but I think this was another one that people can really sit, meditate on, digest, and feel, you know what, I have some 2024 sight of what could potentially be coming, right?
Yeah, man, we covered so much. It was beautiful to be able to chat with some people and to be able to share the screen with you guys and go over what I'm seeing live in these charts. And I'm looking forward to connecting again. I mean, I could see August being a good time to get back together, especially after FedNow goes live. So I'll be keeping everyone updated on my YouTube channel for sure. And then of course, over on my Patreon, I just released that new FedNow Decoded, and I have a decode coming out for August for the August Blue Moon. Talked about it a little bit earlier. Really excited to get that one out, and it'll be more kind of just picking up where we left off.
Excellent. Hey, brother, like I said before, I'll say again, genuinely appreciate you. Waters and El Toro Loco Part 3 has concluded. Thank you so much for everyone at home. Genuinely means the world that you took the time to be here with us today. God bless all of you, and we'll see you all soon. Much love, guys.
Much love, family.